estimated that.
Yeah, we have a lot of, so if you have any, just throw them on the table. Well, I guess I got rid of my table. Throw them in the back room, and then I'm gonna send out an email to other departments and see if they have a use for binders, so they don't have to go out and buy them. And then it'll be up for grabs
we've-
from them
we've
first,
got
and then if
plenty,
nobody, if
yes.
no departments want them, then we'll put them in the hall and try to get a little bit, like $1 for them or a quarter, I don't know. Or free, whatever.
And if they sit there for a while and nobody wants them, they get probably. The general public, I don't know.
It's hard because a lot of people are going electronic, so they don't use the binders like they used to.
All right, it's 9 a.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Go ahead and call this meeting in order. We need approval of the agenda, and I would like to remove item number 7. They had something come up, so they will be rescheduling. I would also like to remove item number 8, and we're going to move it to the 13th, where Konziker with Region 12 will be here, and I'd like some more clarification on what that means. And I would like to add GIS, passport, environmental services to the agenda.
What number?
We can make that number 8.
Yes.
GIS passport and what?
Environmental services department discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the general code changes.
I will second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We need approval of Monday, January 23rd, 23 minutes. I did read them over. I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 1, approve resolution 2023-005 township trustee and clerk compensation.
Y'all get the updated.
It did.
Okay,
It did. And you did get some feedback from a few.
I heard from 2 clerks actually, and they seemed pretty happy with the increase.
So really, for just clarification, we're taking their they were getting $35 an hour for their 1 meeting a month to $40 an hour, 1 meeting a month
35 per meeting.
per meeting.
Yeah, currently we weren't compensating the clerks for their monthly work. So this would clarify that and give them an hourly rate per month.
Let me re-say that again, $40 per meeting, not per hour. 1 per month, so that's 12. And then there's other official records with a pay of 15, up to $15 an hour, not to exceed $300 per fiscal year.
1 meeting per month
1 meeting per month
to pay the bills.
and prepare budget.
Yes.
Yeah, and the trustees don't meet every month. This is a maximum of 6.
Yeah.
But that can be changed by an approval from the supervisors, so.
Correct. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-005 township trustee and clerk compensation.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, roll call.
Councilman?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Miners?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Just need the chair's signature on this.
Oh, my cat. All right. Item number 2 is to discuss and consider employee handbook changes. Today, I think we'll just have a little bit more discussion. Jamie, I know over the weekend, we had some emails back and forth. And he said some opinions as well, and I want to give the department heads and anybody that has any say, another week or so to put any opinions or suggestions out there instead of doing any changes today. And then also have who's gonna proofread it.
I think Courtney's gonna go ahead and edit. Well, I'll let you speak, Courtney. Edit or strike through and maybe put in red suggested changes and then send that out to department heads.
Yeah,
And then be the collector of feedback, and then maybe next Monday we can approve it, the changes at our.
we can certainly do that.
Well, the thing is, we've had committees, and so this has all kind of been ciphered through them already, right, Courtney?
This was recommendations from the committee.
Yeah. So I would not expect there's gonna be a lot of changes.
The payday is gonna be the one that will affect most people one time this July. And the use of sick time, or Jamie, I think, are you gonna speak to that one?
Well, I just had some suggestions on it. I think we can go over what we come up with the next week and then go from there. I mean, as a committee, what we want to send to you guys is for approval.
So I did forward that email with your changes to Courtney
And
and
myself.
Stephanie. To get those put in, and then it'll be, my understanding, redistributed, Courtney, to department heads with the suggested changes.
Well, that's if the board is in favor of the changes, the ones
No,
I,
but just send out to them the suggested, and then we will be collecting feedback of the suggested changes and then make a decision next Monday.
okay,
Is that what?
I guess the changes that I thought here were ones that were recommended by the committee and the board had talked about them multiple times and was in favor of doing them.
Mhm.
Are you guys in favor of making the 6 changes that he recommended?
I don't know that we've all seen them.
Seen them.
Yeah, I don't know that
So,
we've
I
all seen
mean,
them.
I guess the first step would be, I can be for you guys to discuss if those are ones you want to make, because we didn't send it out to the department heads until you guys said, yeah, we're willing to do this, and then send it out to them for,
So basically, the one up in the air would be the sick leave that we needed to discuss, right?
I think so, yeah. And then, you know, I know the county attorney has some suggestions, and if we need to address those, we can.
So what were the changes specifically?
In the committee, we kind of talked about those that are over 65. Basically, they lose all their sick leave that they accumulated. They get nothing back for it. If you retire at 64, you know, essentially you're getting like $683 a month for every 10 days of sick time you have. So, I mean, basically it computes, I think it was like $8,200 for the year for that single plan the county would pay for. So I guess my suggestion would be is they can compute it, their sick time, and be paid out, those that are over 65 be paid out that whatever the yearly cost of that single plan is. Is essentially, if like for one of my staff, if he's maxed out on his sick time, that's $49,000 that he's gonna lose. Where if he were to decide to take sick time, you know, every duty shift that year, if you'd have enough to do so, you'd have to pay out that $49,000. Where, you know, this one's been maxed out since they invented comp time, it's been essentially, but so after, he doesn't get the same benefit as like a new hire who gets that 36 hours for us or a day, you know. So he doesn't get paid out on that money. He's essentially walking away from $49,000 at the same time. And then they, you know, with taking it from the new hires from the spouses, you know, some of these guys can use that towards that spouse's insurance, you know, on their own. They can take that money and use it in other places for their supplemental insurance or something like that. Like just a suggestion, you know, it's something that we talked about in the committee that didn't really go too far with.
Do you have email, Stephanie, that he sent us?
Him?
Yeah, I mean, Joe. So do you want me to read your suggestion?
Jean's reading it right now.
Okay,
And I don't know how many people we have that fall into that category as far as being over 65. As far as financially, what it would cost the county if they were all retired at the same time.
and then also under family illness, emergency leave. The use of sick time shall not exceed 5 days per calendar year unless approved by your department head. Was one, that would be new language.
Well, it's in there that way now, but from what I understand, they're wanting to take the max out. But as, from just my opinion, that there may be somebody that tries to abuse that sick time for kids or family members or whatever, you know, so leaving some type of a limit in there with being able to go over with department head approval.
Right.
Still gives the county somewhat of control to a certain extent. You can, that department head can still say, you can use all your sick time for your kid if you want, but if they notice that it's being abused, they can put a stop to it.
Yeah, right now we only allow 5 days, even if there's the part, I mean, it says. The use of sick leave shall not exceed 5 days per year.
But this is basically. What you're saying is putting back what we're trying to take out of it, right?
Well, there was a lot of discussion about how there was with the 5 days. That it may encourage employees to call in sick for themselves instead of their child. Because they may have exhausted the 4 to 5 days already. And then we said the sick time is what they earned, that sick time, they should be allowed to use it if they want to, but that was just a recommendation.
And they can still use that sick time however they want to, it's just a little protection for the county if somebody decides that they're, you know, instead of, once they have a kid that's sick for 5 days, or you know, they have a family member that's sick, that they're gonna start doing it, just calling into themselves, but you know, and we can't necessarily say, they don't have to necessarily say it's for their themselves or the kid, but it just gives a little protection. I know it's not about taking it out, but if it's, it leaves things pretty open. And again, it's just a suggestion as far as my opinion.
Well, what you're saying is this over 65.
No, this will be different for what we're talking about now. It's just an overall for any employee in the county to pay out for any sick time to be like a year's worth of the employee's health insurance plan is a different situation we were talking about earlier. But this is just on another thing that was sent out that was a solution.
But what are you suggesting on anybody over 65?
So right now, if you have somebody that is 64 years old and retires, they receive, as long as they get a month's worth of insurance, a single plan for every 10 days of sick time they have built up. So that can be, I think it was like $8,300 a year. I'd have to look again to make sure that, so essentially they're getting paid out $8,300 of their sick time. But somebody that retires at 65 does not have that option. They just lose everything. And they, you know, like the staff member I have, he never calls in sick. He's been at max forever. You know, and he's not only missing out on that 36 hours every month, but he's not gonna be able to get anything back for the sick time that he's earned. Whereas somebody prior to 65 can they get some type of a reimbursement for it, for that sick time that they have saved up.
Because currently what we're trying to do is eliminate them switching going to spouse. They can still do it for themselves, right?
So you're saying like Dan has enough sick time to call in for a year?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
1,728 hours below their maxes. And that would be just duty shifts. It's generally accrued in duty for us. We're all separate free, but they can get basically half of that's duty, half of that's call. But the thing is, you can't control what they call in for. I mean, obviously there again, if they're abusing it, you can say, hey, but the way things run now is they can't have over 2 weeks of time off. But they still have to, you know, anything over 2 days has to get a work note off. he doesn't work his duty shift, works his call shift, he's got to call there one day, but it's just I just threw that in there for the number side, where essentially he could potentially be missing out on $49,000 worth of income, or he could actually call in if he wanted to. Whereas instead of, since he cannot get a single health insurance plan because he's over 65, perhaps we can compensate him the same way that we do somebody that retires at 64 years old.
It would be my recommendation that we postpone this. We bring all people involved. Department heads, those committee board members.
They are gone. The two board members aren't here anymore
Rich and
that were on it, so
Oh, okay. Well, I still have
somebody
their,
else went to volunteer to be on it.
I have the recommendations written down and then Zach's here, we'll just have to get the sheriff here and county attorney. And allow department heads time to kind of take a look over the changes that we had sent out, not Jamie's, and give them time to say anything. And then make decisions from there. That would be my recommendation.
On a different format where
Yes,
Basically, we make our recommendations, you guys would have time to review them and possibly ask us any questions. at any
Yes.
time.
You got the one case here where you're looking at,
What's that, I'm sorry?
the one case with the individual at 65,
Right, and I don't know how many that, and it's not necessarily that I'm,
but he's maxed out on his sick leave.
yeah,
And he can't, see, that was the reason we were, at one time, there was not a limit on it.
right,
And it became a liability for the county.
right.
And I kind of look at this a little bit too, we gotta be careful what we're doing here, that we don't create a liability on the county. I understand, and
It's probably one.
yet you want to appreciate the people that don't abuse.
Right. That's kind of where I'm looking at, is it's, they earn that time. And they've been dedicated, haven't called in, but, I mean, because it takes you, for us, it takes approximately 5 years to get maxed out on your comp time, or excuse me, your sick time. And then you take it, and then you earn it back, for us, that we get it back in 36 hours every month, just because they work 24-hour shifts. But, he never calls in, and I'm not using it as, I'm trying to do this for him, it's just for, I know there's some hardship for the people that are over 65, well, I don't get anything, and if I would have retired a year ago, I would have got a free health insurance plan if I had my sick time maxed out.
worth noting.
One of the other ones do it.
Sounds like we'll have a week to research it.
and we'll also be in tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. So we'll have plenty of time to, yeah. Thank you for your suggestion.
Yeah, thank
Thank you.
Zach, you have any input? You're a committee member also.
I know we talked about that and it was back and forth on, sick leave technically doesn't have cash back. That's the problem, but
Unless you take it.
right, it's not cash, it's time,
Yeah.
it's not cash, so that's where it becomes a tough thing.
And it could be a nightmare for department head to manage if
With the year
we're
insurance, that
abused.
is, those are dollars again, but again, it's not dollars, it's insurance, not, so it's a fine line.
It's kind of an interpretation. It is time, it's not dollars, but it's actually being converted to dollars when the county's paying for a single health insurance plan for a year if they have that time accrued.
Anyone else want to say anything? Courtney, can you send that out to the department heads and send it out to everybody? Share.
Are we gonna talk about this next week?
Is a week enough time, or do you guys think we need 2 weeks? Couple
I
weeks?
think they should bring it back in a week, then, or do you wanna, so we can review it, how do you wanna do that?
I think we do a couple weeks so we can get some suggestions back. I prefer it not to be the 13th because I'm not here.
Yeah.
But
I have an election I'm trying to get ready for, so I'm just trying to. plan accordingly, I guess.
I know our
Had a budget-
biggest
a
thing
pre-budget
was
meeting now.
The payday change is gonna be the biggest.
And it
impact,
is, and I think everybody's well aware that that's coming, so I don't think we need to rush the rest of this, but I think everybody, we've talked about this for over. I don't know how long.
And everybody did get a notice in their paycheck, correct, Courtney? On
It's not
the
approved yet.
proposed, no, but on the proposed pay changes that are coming or not?
No,
No,
Nobody has been.
no, I didn't want to notify anybody.
Until the changes are made.
Absolutely, okay.
I agree.
The department heads were sent out the proposed changes, and I told them to share.
And it's been put in the media.
The
When I-
newspaper and radio.
When I did my article, I had.
Yeah.
I added it to my article too.
But if that would be approved, that would definitely go out in multiple checks, not just, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, I think that is the biggest concern, because that does affect
Pre-budgeted,
every
I
single
like.
person, so. All right,
I would say we better give ourselves a couple weeks. Cause that probably helps Courtney out too.
Thanks for your input.
and again, for any department heads or any employee listening, we encourage opinions and suggestions, get them to us as soon as possible so that we can consider them. All right, next item on the agenda is to appoint the City of Glidden Planning and Zoning Board 2 mile limit.
As I was made aware that your tenants that was on there moved away. And I have gotten a hold of Connie Bach is willing to accept it, so we would have a gender balance on that board.
What was her name again?
Connie Bach,
DOCK.
B-O-C-K,
And she's replacing her.
uh,
Jody.
Jody Rohrbeck.
DOCK.
I'd entertain them.
You have her email,
I can
it.
get it. I can get her.
She lives southeast of Glidden.
I'd entertain a motion for that.
Also move that.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, fiscal year 24 county employee health insurance renewal. Everybody was here the day we heard the good news. Carroll County. Now we will discuss if we're going to keep it the same or if we're going to do a little something different this year. Currently, the employees is at 85-15. In the past, Mike, for your information, in the past, it has been discussed to go to 80-20. There's also been a lot of other things too, as far as doing like a savings plan, the wellness plan. There's a lot of different options too.
Wellness plan,
Insurance actually went down, didn't it?
yeah, so there won't be no increase, I assume the rate's gonna be the same, they won't go lower, I'm sure.
We've been very fortunate. We've got, very good employees and they're taking care of themselves. And they need to understand that this isn't a forever thing. At some point, we will have an increase. But I think we need to, in my opinion, I would like to keep it same. A no increase this year. And kind of thank our employees for being prevented.
Well, part of that's also utilizing generic drugs too.
Yep.
So, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, I'm in favor of keeping 85-15. Yeah.
Do you want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to keep employees at the 15% contribution for health insurance.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item number 5, fiscal year 24 compensation board recommendation. I'm gonna read through this real quick. The Carroll County Board Compensation Board met Thursday, December 15th. The board approved recommending to the Carroll County Board of Supervisors a 17% raise for the Carroll County Sheriff, along with a 12% raise for a treasurer, a 12% raise for the recorder, a 12% raise for the county attorney, and a 10% raise for the auditor, and 9% raises for supervisors. So we can get some clarification. The compensation board sets the recommended salary increases. The board of supervisors cannot exceed that percentage, but the board of supervisors do have the authority to lower that percentage, but if we lower it, it has to be lowered across the board equally everywhere. Exempt is supervisors. Supervisors can do something different for their own pay. If anybody wants to go first, go right ahead.
I think we need to keep the supervisors included in the compensation board.
Just do it all as a whole?
Instead of, yep,
Okay.
instead of separating the supervisors. Anybody feel different? We don't need a motion on that. but-
No. Don't everybody jump off.
So that first part we agree on.
And this is a discussion too, so you may
Well-
say, Gene may say freeze, Mike may say deduct by 50%. This is an open discussion until a motion is,
I've had a lot of discussions with different counties and stuff, with every place that I've been, and they're are all over the board. This is not easy to do, but I don't think that we can approve what's there, what they recommended. And I guess I'm in that 45 to 50%. And I think for just simplicity, I'll make a motion to go to 50% reduction all the way across the board. So that would be an 8.5 for the sheriff, 6% for the county attorney, 5% for the auditor, 6% for the treasurer, 6% for the recorder, and 4.5 for the supervisors. And I do not like the way the thing shakes out, but that's. We got
9% spread between high and low on the recommendation from the compensation board. The compensation board had 4 voting members present during their meeting, and the board consists of 8 or 7 people. So there was barely a quorum reached with the compensation board. Just throwing that out there.
I would also like to, with the permission of everybody else sitting here, we attended the newly elected ISAC school. We received, at the end of it, it was the last presentation of the day. There was a presentation devoted strictly for recorder, auditor, treasurer, P&Z. What were the other ones? Sheriff, conservation, and they had a presentation for everybody involved in. They did a lot of roles and responsibilities, and I would like to be able to share that with the compensation board next year. So that they can kind of see even further into what the roles and responsibilities and duties of each office is and how they differ. So I don't know if I need your guys' permission, but I just. would
No,
like to
I
let
think-
you guys
I
know.
think-
It was very.
I
valuable
made that
information.
comment after this too, that it's the actual compensation board needed to see that presentation more than we did.
Okay.
This is my first year, so I'm kind of behind the 8 ball, but I think this compensation board is a broken system. There's nowhere in this country that you give everybody the same exact raise or cut it by the same amount of money. You shouldn't have to give one person more and one less. They should each have their own, and I don't know how they'll fix that. I think they need to look into it next year, a lot better than they did this year, but
The compensation board.
or the state
Correct.
legislators.
both.
Because there is some proposed legislation out there currently about the compensation board,
Yeah.
going away from it, making it more of a merit base. Where you don't have to cut it, you look at each individual
We've been
department
doing that
separately.
for years.
Yeah, unfortunately, our hands, you're right, our hands do get tied. And it is a voluntary board, so it's kind of tricky too, I appreciate the time that they do spend, But I would agree, it would be nice to have a little bit more time up here, whether that is their representation person, whoever their rep, spend time in those offices to see, or even that spreadsheet that I have, it will show the roles and responsibility. But Mike, I'll agree with you, coming from the private sector,
Yeah.
this doesn't exist.
No.
It's merit-based.
And how we got the large increases last year was because of back to blue, which affected, there's 10 elected officials in every, well, or 8 in some counties, but our county has 10 elected officials. They're all in the same pile. And the difference between the high, which was the intent of back to blue, versus the low was large last year, and it's
It affects
9%
everybody
this
now.
year. So it puts the comp board in a tough spot, but I feel it puts the supervisors in a greater tough spot as far as compensation, because the elected officials, there's 10 of us, but there's also 10 deputies whose salaries reflect their elected officials. So the treasurer has 5 deputies that her increase is affected by. The auditor has 2. County attorney doesn't have a deputy, but has an assistant. Sheriff has 1 deputy, and the recorder has in the past had 1, currently not yet, but expected to be. So there's 20 people total out of 120 county employees that are affected by, that are directly affected by the compensation board.
Well, like I said, everybody I had discussions, they're all over the board and, you know, I think, you know, sometimes we need to, we have to provide some sort of incentive, because otherwise we won't have people running for these offices. I think we see that once in a while now already, but we can't live with that double digit in some of those scenarios and continue that pace.
This isn't a 1-year lump sum or a
No.
stipend. This
This is
compounds next year, the year after, the
It's
year
here to
after.
stay. And
So
I,
we currently-
I guess I'm going to cut in half.
Okay, so we
And
currently
take
have
it-
a
take it
motion on
with
the
the-
floor for
with the-
cutting in half.
Cost of living is at 8.7. I think we still need to cut it in half.
Is there a second to the 50% cut? For lack of second, motion dies.
I'd like to make a motion to cut the comp board. Recommendation, 60.7%. 60.70, which, over the 10 elected officials would be a 4.24% raise with, if you add in their IFRS and FICA, it'd be a 5% raise.
Clarification, 60.70%. So that would put the sheriff at a 6.68, attorney 4.72, auditor 3.93, treasurer 4.72, recorder 4.72, supervisors 3.54.
Are you using your spreadsheet?
Approximate numbers.
Okay, because I'm like, I was gonna use that too, if this would happen.
Well, I mean, that's his motion. I was just trying to
Yeah.
explain to the rest of the board what those, where those numbers. Instead of everybody getting a calculator out.
You think that's a just raise with the way the economy is right now?
No, but I don't think you can do it all at once.
No, I know that. That's why I'm for cutting that half.
No, the economy,
But I mean,
inflation's high, fuel's high, everything's high.
yeah, I
I'd
mean,
like to give them 10%, but we can't.
I know, but I mean, the senior citizens are getting 8.7 and there's sectors around the area that have done very well this year. And I think we can't just cut it too bad for it either. I think that's being overdone.
Last year, I believe, we reduce the comp board recommendation by 46%. Is where we ended up last year after probably a dozen motions. And several failed without a second. And back to blue, some counties did not do it. Some counties last year ended up around the 30% range for the sheriffs. And I can't speak for the comp board, but the numbers they gave us, I think it was their assumption, they're taxpayers also, they're property owners. That the board would reduce this by a certain percentage versus it would be nice if we could get to realistic expectations from the comp board where we didn't have to have this discussion.
So there is a motion on the floor to decrease the compensation recommendation by 60.7%. Is there a second? No second? Motion fails. You're out. Oh, we don't want
Not saying I don't want to, but
to. Last week I had made a comment about decreasing it by 50%. Jean also made the comment about freezing, which could be an option in the future if this doesn't start
could be this year.
tapering out. I don't want to freeze because I do want to commend our employees for doing a fabulous job. I think Carroll County is very blessed with the people we have. I kind of disagree with the lack of people wanting to do these jobs because we've had a couple job openings and we've had at least 22 applications. So I think people want to work for the county. We're not at that point where people don't want to work for the
I
county.
was talking electric officials.
Oh, yeah. No comment. Non-elected, but for employees, we do well. I'm not as far as Mike's, but I almost could get behind board with you as well, the -60. I was falling anywhere between the range of still going -50, -55, -60. Those were my three where I was at. If we did -60, that would be 6% for the sheriff, 6.8. Attorney 4.8, auditor 4, treasurer 4.8, recorder 4.8, supervisors 3.6. So Mike and I were really close. We're off by 0.7%. I will make a motion to decrease the compensation pay by 60%.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion fails.
I'll make a motion that similar in range of the prior three motions of a 55% reduction or a 45% of the comp board's recommendations. Percentages would be 7.65 for the sheriff, 5.4 for the attorney, the treasurer, and the recorder, 4.5 for the auditor, supervisors, 4.05. 55% reduction of the compensation board's recommendation.
Well, the nice part is we're between 50,
And 60.7.
so really, I think we can work this through.
And a second?
I really don't want to. Still
Last year it took several conversations.
What's the total cost of county on that 55, do you know?
The, including IPers or
Yeah.
just
Including IPers.
76,000.
That's the total cost.
Mhm.
But when we're talking these percentages, that doesn't change that total cost much.
No, not where we're at.
Yes, the total cost to the
Yeah.
taxpayer. Yes, and I did speak with our assessor this morning, our evaluations. I believe Courtney would have to confirm this, but our evaluations did go up. I recall last year being approximately 150 million, this year approximately 201. And then without the rollbacks. But seeing some of the early pre-budget markups that I've gotten from department heads. All departments are gonna need more money this year just to operate. Whether it's conservation on fuel, secondary roads on equipment. Cost of rock.
So there is a motion on the floor for a 55% decrease from the compensation board recommendation. Is there a second? No second, motion fails. Sixty, 60.7.
I really don't wanna go any lower than what I did, but I think I'm on, down the extreme end of one side, so I'll make a motion to go reduce to 52%.
Outside.
Been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Motion fails.
Be nice to have a supervisor sitting in the District 5 chair.
Even numbers, yeah. Thought you guys were gonna try to get as many motions as you had last year.
How many did we have last
I
year?
remember it was a lot.
I wanted to
Six.
take
Well,
it.
and like I said, and the thing is that whatever percentage we're changing, doesn't change that total outlook. Yeah.
It doesn't.
So I mean,
Last
we're-
year-
we're squabbling over.
Last year. I was hoping to be a one and done with back to
Still money.
blue and make that adjustment so that we could get numbers that were easier to work with. And again, this year we have a 9% range between high and low. And back to blue lot is still in effect. And I think that is, I can't speak for the whole board, but that is tough to justify. When you have one very high number and the rest are all several percentage points below it.
Absolutely.
So the current motion is
Failed.
40.
You cut it by 52.
I thought Gene just made,
He did 52 and it got voted.
Yeah.
And it failed.
oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So we've been at 50, 60.7, 60.
52 and 55.
There has to be a sweet spot
There
somewhere
is.
between those.
And I'm gonna guess it is 57%. I'll go ahead and make a motion to decrease the compensations recommendation to 57%.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Oh, no more discussion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
Motion carries. For clarification, we did decrease the compensation recommendation percentage by 67%.
Did you like,
57%.
Courtney, would you like rough numbers for
Yeah.
sheriff? 7.31. The attorney, the treasurer, and the recorder, 5.16. Auditor, 4.3.
Oh, that can't be right. Is it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, 4.3, right?
Yeah.
Supervisor, 3.87.
Thank you.
And I can, where I can put that on, I can send it to you.
Oh, I have the spreadsheet. So, yeah, thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is fiscal year 23 non-elected and non-union salaries.
So what we just did affected 20 people's compensation increase for fiscal year 24. And this will affect roughly 90 people, from home care aides to jailers, to
Secondary
deputy
road.
sheriffs, secondary roads, conservation. So this will include everybody except
Ambulance.
ambulance, just for
And
general
ambulance
knowledge.
will come up next week,
So this would affect the non-elected,
non-union.
non-union, and not deputies' salaries.
So what was the average of what we just did?
I don't know.
I thought you had that on that
I
spreadsheet.
do. It's gonna take me a second to get to it. 4.64.
Well, oh, how much was FICA and Hypers
5.47
With FICA and IPERS.
and 4.64?
was the actual pay without this. Last year, the county gave the employees were rewarded 5.5% increase of the group we're talking about right now. COLA is again at 8.7. Last year, the county was unable to move
Can I see that
last
second?
year's. So the rough current payroll. I don't have numbers for this fiscal year because we're still in it. But 22 fiscal year was $7.2 million. So if we had the 5.5% increase. It was given last year, which will be reflected this year at the end of June, it would be approximately $7,606,000. Last year, the 5.5% on that current salary was roughly a $418,000 just salary. The increase which the county levies on. So this year, every 1% equals roughly $76,000. Just information. I think these employees are not elected, non-union. And
Well, one thing is we want to keep them on.
that's what retention is a big factor. Recruitment on some of these people we're talking about from other counties, it happens. So I'm not making a motion, I'm just airing that out there. Again, last year was 5.5. I think we need to be in a very similar range as last year. Nobody else is speaking, so
Make a motion.
I will make a motion that we duplicate last year's 5.5%. For non-elected, non-union county employees. Which I mentioned are the home care aides, the comm center, the deputy sheriffs, secondary roads, snowplow drivers, courthouse clerks that are not deputies. This is the large majority of the county workforce.
Second.
There was a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I see you're computing over there. Would you like
I'm
it?
just, yeah, trying to figure some, hold on a second.
No, you're good.
Comments from you? Gene?
I'll be honest with you, these wages are all the board discussions I've had. And some of the counties have said they've got further behind by not doing raises the last few years, and they are losing people. And
I do know,
I mean, I know one county to north, they give substantial raises this year to offset that.
I know the
Like I said,
city's
they're
been,
all over.
froze at 3% the last 2 years. And I had discussions with lots of other supervisors, and again, we have wonderful employees who do a great job, provide services to the whole county. And once a year is our time when we get to appreciate them, and
Round second, because I'm pretty good and probably the best offer we get.
Don't be so scared, Gene. Mike, do you need more time? Otherwise, I'm gonna.
Yeah, give me another minute. Motion for 5.5, you said, right?
it was
5.5.
for- I made a motion, we have a second.
For 5.5.
And the history is, last year was 5.5, the prior year was 2.5.
Ready? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Motion fails. So that was our 5.5.
I'd like to make a motion to go at 6%. On.
Hourly non-union. There's a motion. Is there a second for 6%?
I will second 6%.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Okay.
Sheet out.
Not too many S's here. Okay, I just want to give. Okay, thank you.
All right, and our next item, the 10 a.m. manning childcare, they are going to need to postpone. They had something come up. We did remove item number 8. I am gonna go ahead and we added a new number 8, the GIS Passport Environmental Services Department discussion. And the reason why we did add this is because I do warrant this as more of an emergency situation, because we need to make a decision on what we're going to be doing with this department. Now I'll give a little bit of background and clarification. We currently have, and I'm gonna go through this briefly, there's a lot more to this. We currently have Sarah Halbrell in the GIS office located in the recorder system. She was doing passports up until 8 o'clock this morning, and I had a conversation with Catherine from New Orleans, and a great conversation. Her and I went through the email chains. She did agree that it was an internal mistake that they made. And I had asked for her to work with us if we wanted to streamline that process from 6 weeks down to 1 to 2 weeks. And I asked, what would that all pertain? Because I wanted to have all the information. She has,
Back up this to that.
yep, please.
So what started the conversation? I think we need to give the basics there. Stephanie and I had a meeting Friday to try to understand this.
Yes. What do you mean? Like, where did it finally throw a red flag?
Right.
Okay.
We thought first of the year, that that the passports were gonna fall under the GIS umbrella.
Yes,
They for the past 7 years, Carrie, have been under environmental health.
correct.
Okay, so New Orleans, who is our federal passport licensee, notified,
Sarah.
so now continue.
So Sarah was working hand in hand with Michael, an employee through New Orleans. He has a boss, Catherine. The red flag came, Michael was allowing Sarah to do this, had given her a number, had done the
Federal
training,
identification.
and 2 other people have been designated as assignees if Sarah were perhaps to be gone. The red flag happened when Sarah asked for the name to be changed from Environmental Services to GIS. Catherine saw that and started looking into it. She did apologize for the mistakes that Michael made. It snowballed into an issue. We have options. None of them are really great, but I think after talking to Catherine this morning, I feel a little bit more comfortable. And I want to thank you both for coming before the board. This is unforeseen. People, and it is human error. People make mistakes. And it just goes to show that it happens on the federal level too. So our options are, in my opinion, these are our options. 1, we continue as is. We tell the general public that our passport services are going to be shut down effectively and immediately until Carrie signs the number of disillusioning or whatever you call it from the GIS position. Sarah then fills out the application and we wait the 1 to 2 weeks. Catherine did say she could streamline it if we went that option. She would stay and because she understands the situation. That could be option 1, and we'd keep it in the same space in the recorder's office to the public in the courthouse. That's option 1. Option 2 would be like Carrie had said. We would put Sarah under potentially the umbrella of environmental services, and Carrie would still hold the licensee number and Sarah would report then to Carrie. Not necessarily report, but they would help each other back
Under
and
her
forth.
license.
Yeah. But that imposes some issues too, because then do we move Sarah down to the basement, which inevitably, I know we had talked about moving environmental services over to the Fricky building, so we had more space for construction. Because it's another trip. None of this is gonna be easy no matter what we decide. Option 3, we could always move Sarah with Carrie and Sherry over to the Fricky building, and then we'd be removing passports from the courthouse altogether. If you guys come up with another option, let me know. That's kind of that's in a nutshell.
So in
Well, I think in the long scheme of everything is what we're looking at is what she's suggesting moving backward public health, which they are part of public health. And our long term is to have it accessible. And that was the reason we was doing this, was make it more accessible to the public on this floor.
That was the
I
sole
guess
purpose of.
That was the whole purpose. So I think
5 day a
me-
week
to me,
passports.
we do option 1.
Yeah, I wasn't really part of this deal, but your
Real
whole,
quick, Carrie, do you have something to say?
Yeah, first of all, the basement is accessible. We got an elevator, we got stairs, it's accessible. We are also under a situation where things will be different once the courthouse is completed. So there may be an option there then to move us to the next level. Is the next level still considered unacceptable to the public? I mean, now let's think 5 years down the line, 3 years down the line, when this courthouse is completed and now there's extra space. I mean, I would argue that the basement's accessible. We never had anybody that called and said, we have no way of getting to your office. The Fricky building is also accessible. There's 2 entrances. You have the one on the street that goes down and the one from the back that would be handicap accessible. They're accessible. It was the availability, the 5 days a week, making sure that it was available to the public 5 days a week. And that was where we said we would work with Sarah to make sure that that happens.
Do you have anything to add, Nick?
No, I was just saying, I wasn't part of the decision to do it, but the whole reason we did it was to keep her on the main floor. And I would vote to shut her down for a week or 2 and continue doing that.
Do you have any other input?
Can I say one more thing? When you shut it down for 2 weeks, now you're essentially telling the public that they need to drive
To Denison.
30 minutes somewhere else. And you've got Sherry and I that still have a facility and the certifications to provide that service. So why would you tell our county people that you have to drive 30 minutes because you don't want to use the people that you have in the basement just because they're in the basement?
Because she's gotta sign off first.
Yeah, that's the reason for us to be able to transfer that over to her. You have to sign off on it. And undergo losing it through the GIS, or not the GIS, but through environmental services, then she has to reapply. So that is why there's the shutdown. And I'll take fault for it. It's fine. I have no problem, even though the mistakes were happening internally on the federal level, but if the Carroll County people want to be upset with me for a week or 2, because I would still like to keep this program on the main floor in the courthouse accessible, they can be mad with me. I can take that. I have been extremely disappointed probably in certain areas where I don't feel camaraderie and cohesion and people being willing to help each other out. I haven't seen that. And I've heard of things like this. So I would still like to stick with, and I'll go ahead and make the motion that.
So I can, we made a motion.
Oh, you did make a motion? You said vote, didn't you? Okay, sorry. I'll just finish my statement, but I would like to see the courthouse getting along better and everybody working together, because in the end, we are serving the public. I know this is gonna be a hiccup to the Carroll County people for a week or 2. And Catherine was gracious to work with me. I explained the situation. She's gonna help streamline this as much as possible. But I would like to keep it here Monday through Friday during the week and be accessible for everybody. And we're just gonna have to go through this growing pains, and I think the Carroll County people will understand. So there has been a motion that we keep passports within the courthouse open Monday through Friday. It will be closed effective immediately until we can get the process done for 1 to 2 weeks, however long it takes.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I'm not sure what you're referring to about not helping. You've been very helpful to Sarah, not only with zoning, but also passport. What's not helpful to us is that the other employees in this building, their complaints about not wanting to direct the public to the basement is not a reason enough to completely change what has been working for the last 6 years.
Okay.
So if that's what you're referring to, the employees in this building, if they have a problem with something, then they need to follow the plan in the employee handbook that talks about investigating of complaints and other things. But that's not happening. So maybe that should be added to the employee handbook. If the employees in this building did not like directing people to the basement, then there should have been some sort of an investigation, talking to my office, talking to them to find out why they don't want to help the public by just telling them where the office is located.
Where are we at on this? I don't.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
You second.
Did I second? Oh, sorry, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Sarah, I'll be in contact with you. All right, item number 9 is manure management annual updates. For the Allen Friedman Noble, section 27, Eden Township, there's no changes. Chris Finisher Farms, section 12, Wheatland Township, there is a 4-year contract change, update, I'm sorry. Item C, Danner Fisher, section 34, Pleasant Valley Township, no changes. Can we go ahead and go into committee reports, and I will real quick, I'm gonna get a hold of Dalton and have him put that on the website that we are null and void for. Yep, and then can you make sure you say,
Put on the radio.
and we'll let them know when we can do it. Thank you. Who wants to go first for committee reports?
I can go first. Monday, we, Scott and I had Ammon's union negotiations. We have a tentative agreement. We were hoping to have that agreement back to today, but it kind of got tied up and our union negotiator was on the road all week, so, but it will be here. But we did do a tentative agreement. And so that's that. On Tuesday, then I had Carroll County Growth Partnership board meeting. They did change, one of the biggest items on the agenda was their change of due structures. They went from 1,500 and 300. So it's $1,000 for private investor, $500 for like cities, nonprofits, and $300 for retirees. And that was
CADC dues.
the CDs.
What's the overall effect on the, well, you
I
won't
was-
know how many people renew. it.
Yeah, they had it's on the spreadsheet that he had. I don't have that with me. Now, part of that is to go into the next part of the discussion. They want to start 2 grants, a Jumpstart Accelerator grant and a microfacet grant. And I don't know if I have that.
That's a revolving loan.
Those, yeah, revolving. I don't have them here, but it's like, I think 2 of the Jump Accelerator grants in the year, $5,000. I do have that here. 1 in Carroll and 1 out in the outside of the county. The micro facet grant, I don't have those numbers. I think it was like, they're like $1,000 ones, and there's like 3 of them within Carroll and 2 outside of Carroll, I think. Then she brought up about rural EMS pilot program. I did hand that information out to Jeremy. There's a Jamie, what did I say?
Jeremy,
Jamie.
I'm reading your mind.
Okay, yeah, do as I think, not as I say. Anyway. That's a pilot program where they are, there's money available up to $50,000 or $25,000 match. I handed it off and I think there's a good possibility. We can probably utilize that to get some training, get some more people on the rural area. What it's designed to, I think there's an app that you can put on your phone. So let's say you fall somewhere, it'll do a ping besides also calling the 911. It would ping the one that's closest to you to come.
First responder.
Yeah.
Okay.
And where does that funding come from?
It's through the state.
State, okay,
And it's a $50,000 grant, and I think it's gotta be matched up to 25,000.
I see.
But I looked at it as a way, maybe we can get some money in here and get some more people trained. Yeah, because we're
We're
struggling there.
as are most counties.
And then they kind of went around on the round table and stuff. Then on Wednesday, I had the Rolling Hills budget. We did approve the budget. That was within a 5% increase in salaries and that. And then Thursday, I had board orientation out at New Opportunities. We got 3 new board members joining out there. And I was participated in that. Oh, I forgot Tuesday night, we had also had policy council. We went through all the programs. Everything's good there. Did a program report, self-assessments. Just a lot of good things going on there. Then on Thursday, we had also the board meeting for New Opportunities. Went through all the financial reports, everything that was, we did on the policy council. I did hand out you guys a ribbon cutting thing. And then also, he talked a little bit about the opioids update settlements, working with the counties. We'd had a discussion on the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services, that's the joint, where public health and DHS are joined. And then we approved a whole bunch of weatherization contracts and low income home energy assistance programs, and also some about 4 weatherization program. That was on Thursday. Then this week I have Tuesday, I have the asbestos abatement thing tomorrow morning. And then I have pre-budget meetings with the auditor, board of health and environmental health on Wednesday, and then Thursday, statewide supervisors meeting. And Friday is the chamber coughing out at new opportunities. And then I have the sheriff and the secondary roads budgets.
Anything else?
Yeah, hope you have time to sleep.
I'll go next.
And I get my chip in my goddamn pick.
Get it. Go.
Courtney, last week I had radio and newspaper on Monday. Gene and I also met and with the union negotiations, and we stated we received a tentative agreement. That will be next Monday's agenda. Tuesday, very valuable TIF lunch and learn, tax increment financing versus abatement. Wednesday, a noon meeting for Board of Health. The Board of Health approved their raises. Stipends, I should say, they increased the stipend by 5% for 2 county employees. Thursday at 11 o'clock, we met with the clerk of court. I believe all the supervisors were there. And then, yeah, you can put Gene on that one too, Courtney. Following that meeting, Tony Bating, we met with the additional asbestos removal possibilities that we're gonna be facing. And more to come on that one. I think Stephanie's gonna try to set up monthly meetings, but are you gonna elaborate on that? I'll let you. The courthouse could be closed for a period of time during the removal of the asbestos. Friday, I did meet with Stephanie and current and past passport employees. And that got finalized today. Saturday legislative forum was canceled, but I did ride with a snowplow driver, ride along with a snowplow.
How do you rode along?
Yeah, I could not be, I
Very well.
couldn't be under the control panel, or under the control, but I rode along.
Do you wanna go next? Oh,
I'm
no,
not
you got
done
this.
yet. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, scheduled pre-budget with the county attorney. And at 9:30 is a meeting with the asbestos removal company on trying to schedule that and how to make it all work without having 7 different mobilization fees. Wednesday, I pre-budget with home care, conservation pre-budget, and the auditor pre-budget. Thursday, I will be in Des Moines at the statewide supervisors ISAC function. And is next Monday a bill day?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll be in Friday looking at the payables and at secondary roads.
Yes.
Your turn, Mike. I was kind of the ball hog. So is you.
Oh, wait a minute.
So on the February 6th, are we gonna be
No,
paying bills?
13th.
Okay, so scratch my presence. Looking.
I know, after I looked at that,
I had a
I was
question
off
mark by
the
it.
week, sorry.
Go ahead.
All right.
Stephanie gets last.
Last week, I was on vacation. On Thursday, we had a meeting here at the courthouse with the clerk of courts, and then we did a little tour of the courthouse with Bating Construction. Today I got radio and newspaper, Tuesday, we have a meeting with bidding construction again. Wednesday, we have pre-budget meetings with IT, home care, conservation, environmental studies, or, yeah. And Thursday, we have the ISAC statewide supervisor meeting in Des Moines. And last night I watched Chiefs win.
Official county business.
I will go last week, had that TIF and tax abatement, and that was, I want to commend Region 12 for putting that on. It was very informative. I did collect some information to get to a couple other department heads. It was very educational to me. I learned quite a few things, and I actually would like to see a part B where you can get into the weeds a little bit more. Then, like the guy said, we had the courthouse clerk of court walk through. I did go to the chamber coffee this week. I did have meetings with the GIS and passport, current and present. And I also logged into an IWD Zoom meeting, and hence why we took it off the agenda today. I really want Rick Hunziker to be able to explain that to everybody on the 13th. This week, pending, we have the Tuesday attorney pre-budget. We also have REW abatement, or no, is it REW, the abatement company that's coming in?
RFW.
I
RFW.
think it's already done.
We're gonna walk through and kind of look at scenarios of where there may
They're the company, they're a subcontract.
subcontract, yep,
Who are gonna actually be doing the removal, and we're gonna get in the weeds a little bit
Yep.
on what it's gonna take.
and working with them if they'd be willing to do weekend work as well. Friday, I have pre-budget with the sheriff and secondary roads.
February 6th is Monday. That will be the last day of in-person courthouse voting, correct?
Correct.
For the special election District 5 supervisor.
Yeah, last day to vote in early in person. Board meeting on the 6th. We have Carroll Grove Partnership for funding. That public hearing for the Breeda Depot is scheduled at 9:30. What looks like we'll have the treasurer's semi-annual report that she gave me. Simple notes. That's the 13th. Is it okay? It looks like it as of now. There might be a couple plats, but
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We are adjourned.
I cannot wait till we're not recorded anymore. I got something to say.
Are you putting it?
I was ready for that, but